Imagine a world where conflicts were resolved not by weapons, but by words. A world where compassion, understanding, and wisdom prevailed over differences. Today we're diving into some of the most remarkable negotiations ever led by one of history's most influential figures, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. His approach to diplomacy holds powerful lessons for humanity today. Consistent themes across the negotiations by Prophet Muhammad: peace and reconciliation. The Prophet, peace be upon him, consistently sought peaceful means of resolving conflicts, emphasizing treaties over warfare whenever possible. Justice and fairness. Agreements ensured that all parties, regardless of religion, received fair treatment and their rights were protected. Strategic patience. Many of these treaties involved compromise, reflecting a long-term strategy for stability and the spread of Islam. Respect for diversity. There was a strong emphasis on coexistence and respect for other religions and cultures. Emphasis on unity. Whether within the Muslim community or with non-Muslims, unity and collective security were prioritized. Let's begin with a remarkable episode in the year 628 CE, an event that changed the course of history and demonstrated the power of peace, the Treaty of Hadith. It was a time of heightened tension. The Muslims, led by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, set out to perform a peaceful pilgrimage to Mecca. But instead of being welcomed, they were stopped by the Quraysh, the tribe ruling Mecca. Instead of escalating the situation, the Prophet, peace be upon him, opted for a different path. He sought dialogue. After intense negotiations, a treaty was reached. The terms seemed tough. Muslims would have to return without performing Umrah and could come back the following year. But there was something profound here, a 10-year peace agreement. Why was this significant? Because it showed a theme that repeats in every negotiation the Prophet, peace be upon him, made: patience and strategic compromise. Sometimes the path to peace involves taking a step back, thinking long-term, and avoiding immediate confrontation. And what happened as a result? In the months that followed, many people saw the sincerity of the Muslims. The Treaty of Hadith, though seemingly unfavorable, paved the way for peaceful expansion and more people embracing Islam. Now let's rewind a bit to the Prophet's early years in Medina. Imagine arriving in a city with people of different beliefs, Muslims, Jews, pagans, all with their own customs and traditions. How do you build a unified community out of such diversity? The answer was revolutionary for its time: the Constitution of Medina. This was more than just a treaty, it was a social contract. It established rights and responsibilities for everyone, regardless of their beliefs. Muslims and non-Muslims were allies, and everyone had a role in protecting the city. The underlying theme: unity in diversity. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, believed in building a community where everyone had a place, where differences were not just tolerated, but respected. It's a message that resonates deeply with our world today, a world that's still trying to find ways to live harmoniously despite differences. Fast forward a few years, let's talk about another fascinating example: the Christian delegation of Najran. The Christians came to Medina to engage in theological discussions. The Prophet, peace be upon him, didn't force his beliefs upon them. Instead, they talked, they debated, they exchanged ideas with mutual respect. And in the end, a treaty was signed ensuring their right to practice their faith freely, in return for a protection tax. This wasn't just diplomacy, it was religious tolerance in action. Imagine leaders today sitting down, genuinely listening to one another, respecting different beliefs, and striving for peaceful coexistence. It's a timeless lesson that can inspire all of us. And what about his global outreach? The Prophet, peace be upon him, didn't just negotiate locally. He sent letters to emperors and kings, inviting them to consider Islam, but more importantly, offering peace. These letters were respectful, dignified, and emphasized the idea of peaceful dialogue. Whether they accepted the message or not, the intention was clear: peace over conflict. The Prophet reached out, hoping to create understanding rather than hostility. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was more than a spiritual leader. He was a visionary diplomat, a champion of peace, and a master of negotiation. From the Treaty of Hadith, which showed the power of strategic patience, to the Constitution of Medina, which emphasized justice and equality, his approach was always about the greater good. In a world that often seems divided, these lessons from centuries ago remind us that true leadership lies in dialogue, patience, and compassion. His negotiations weren't just about treaties. They were about hearts and minds, about building bridges where others might build walls. Thank you for joining us in exploring these incredible moments of diplomacy. If you found this inspiring, share it with others. Let's spread the message of peace, understanding, and unity. Until next time, stay compassionate, stay curious.